When my biological parents found me, I was at home taking care of my paralyzed adoptive dad, Jack, by cleaning his body. A fancy-dressed woman, Jane, had tears in her eyes and rushed over to hug me. "Sue, Sue." I coldly pushed her away and looked at my excited dad, Jack, on the bed. In a detached tone, I said, "Give me $500,000 and I'll be your daughter. My name is Sue." Real parents found me when I was home washing my bedridden adoptive dad. They looked out of place in our poor home, all dressed up. The woman, well taken care of, teared up as soon as she saw me. She hugged me and said sadly, "Sue, Sue, you've suffered." I was held tightly as her sobs filled the air. It was inevitable this day would come. Hearing the commotion, my mom came from the kitchen, stunned to see them. "Sister, what's going on?" she asked, confused. I looked up and saw a girl clinging to my biological dad. Her name was Mary, and she wore a pretty white dress with a neat hairstyle and fancy jewelry on her ears and neck. The total opposite of me. I'm poor and shabby. My biological mom kept crying while they explained to my mom. They were my real parents. 15 years ago, 2 moms gave birth at a hospital, and there was a mix-up. When they found out, they started looking for me and came rushing over once they got word. Their goal was to bring me back and have me be their daughter. They didn't want Mary to come back here. After all, they've raised her for 15 years and got attached. Listening to this, my mom started crying. She damaged her body during childbirth and couldn't have more kids. I was her only child. Our family is truly poor, so thinking about my future, she wanted me to leave with them, but she couldn't bear it. My biological mom wouldn't let go, and though my mom didn't want to, she let go of my clothes and stood aside, wiping tears again and again. Dad finally understood, and despite his excitement, his face turned red as he awed from the bed. When I was 12, he had a fall while working, injuring his central nervous system, which left him half paralyzed and unable to speak well. I walked over right away, and my biological mom tried to grab me, but I broke free. Seeing me approach, Dad got even more excited, waving his hand and awing. "Go, go," he was telling me to go. Clearly, everyone could see this family was wealthy. So I held Dad's hand and said coldly, "Give me $500,000 and I'll be your daughter." Jack and Jane seemed shocked at my words. They were taken aback. I turned around. "What? Can't afford it? If not, just leave." From the moment they walked in, they never showed gratitude to my adoptive parents for raising me and had a disdainful look at my home. They didn't politely discuss taking me. They just announced, "We took the wrong daughter and now want to take the real daughter back. We won't return yours." It's like they were sure I'd go with them. Jack quickly shook his head. "No, we can afford it." Of course, Jack's family made millions a year. $500,000 to them was nothing, just the price of a few handbags. But to my adoptive parents, it meant they could live easily for the rest of their lives. Adoptive Dad got emotional, waving his hands, and Mom panicked. "Sue, what are you saying? We're not selling you." I held her hand, signaling her to calm down. Sue held Jack's hand, frowning and muttering, so tacky, always about money. I chuckled and gave her a faint look. "Your name's Mary, right? But if there wasn't a mix-up, you'd be in this home, not me. Besides taking my name, you took my life too." Mary's face turned pale, and she nervously held Jack's hand. Jack patted her head, frowning slightly, a trace of discontent on his face. I cooled my face and dropped the polite act. "You suddenly come to our house, saying you want to take me with you, and not give my parents their daughter back at all. Did you think about my parents' feelings? Asking for $500,000, is it too much? Or is your daughter worth less than that? If so, then just leave." I turned around and continued wiping my adoptive dad's hand. Tears welled up in his eyes. He kept ah-hahing. Like Mom, he thought they were a good place for me. "But Dad, how do you know they'll be good to me? All right, we'll give it to you." Jane said softly, eyes red. "Big brother and sister took care of Sue for so many years. It's the least we could do." In the past life, she didn't thank them. They just took me away, leaving nothing but the empty wind and a shabby home. When Mom got the bank card, she wept uncontrollably, full of reluctance. Sue, since I was 12, I'd never seen her cry. I wiped her tears. "Mom, Use the money to treat Dad. I'll be back. She wanted to say something but just nodded through tears, let go of my hand, and I left with them. Mom and Dad, with this $500,000, I hope you live longer this time. I've lived this life before. After they took me, things weren't good. They had careers, social lives, and Mary, hardly any time or concern left for me. Even when I was bullied and insulted, they thought it was my fault. They never raised me. Taking me back, they just didn't take responsibility. They planned to marry me off to secure their family status. Even knowing the man didn't love me, they let him humiliate me after marriage. That marriage became my grave. This was all I experienced with them. Who'd have thought heaven gave me another chance to live again? Watching the scenery fade, I made up my mind. No more repeating the past life. I want to take care of my parents and live my own life. When I got to their place, Jane unexpectedly chatted with me for ages and even took me shopping for clothes and jewelry the next day. Because of my strong accent, she got me a teacher to help with my Mandarin. This was a level of care I never received in my last life. So, is it true you value what you pay for? I pondered and then said clearly, Mom, my German isn't good. Can you get me a German teacher too? In my past life, I was mocked for my accent and practiced in private for a long time. Now, I speak without pressure. Hearing my Mandarin, her eyes lit up and she agreed right away. It seems the love from parents does come at a price. Just then, Mary, fresh out of the shower, saw how close Jane and I were and felt a surge of insecurity. She hurried down the stairs, squeezed me aside, and leapt into Jane's arms, saying, Mom, can you dry my hair? I remained calm, moving back a little. She clung to her mom, terrified I'd take the love she thought was hers. Isn't this backwards? Jack and Jane are my biological parents. I've witnessed such scenes countless times in my past life. I used to get so jealous my eyes would turn red, competing with Mary on purpose. Jack and Jane said I was petty. They looked annoyed, tossed me aside, and scolded me. Mary has been our daughter for 15 years. Though we know you've been through a lot, you can't fight with her, all right? I stood up coolly, Mom. I'm going upstairs to study. Jane seemed to realize her bias, parted her lips slightly, but held Mary tighter as the latter hugged her and eventually doted on her, booping her nose. You little one. Mary and I are indeed different, but I'm glad it doesn't bother me now. Half an hour later, Mary showed up at my door. Her eyes held fear, watching me with a mix of hesitation. I knew what she intended. She used to be the only child, with all of Jack and Jane's attention. My arrival unsettled her. I set my book down and walked straight towards her. Mary frowned, stepped back, but then bit her lip and leaned backward. My room is right by the stairs. The expected pain didn't hit because I caught her. Her face turned red and angry. Sue, why'd you pull me back? Once she was steady, I let go and said coldly, in 3 days, there's a violin competition in City A. Ethan will be a judge. Sue picked up violin at 3 and won numerous awards. Her family often bragged about her talents, and Ethan was her favorite violinist. Sue hesitated. How do you know? I didn't answer but went on. If you fell down those stairs, you'd break your wrist and miss playing the violin, miss seeing Ethan. You'd suffer pain every time you practiced over 2 hours. Is it worth losing your passion and love for violin just to win your parents' affection? In my past life, she ended up this way. After successfully framing me, my parents looked down on me, setting off a chain of miseries. Mary, who lost her violin talent, grew irritable. Her past honors became her downfall, turning a high flyer into an ordinary person. Unable to cope, she unleashed her anger on me. I fought back and we ended up with nothing. I know she'd try again in this life. But I'm tired. I don't want any more entanglement with this family. To avoid future troubles, I decided to save Mary this time. I hope she has a conscience. Her eyes flickered, growing red. She stayed mute. At 15, Mary wasn't as cruel as she'd become. Losing her violin meant she lost the last bit of genuine emotion. Why'd you save me? I blinked. I hope you don't try to frame me again in the future. I won't battle you for Jack and Jane's love. You've seen my family situation. Dad's seriously ill and Mom can't earn a living. I want to use the Williams family resources to grow strong and find my parents. Let's coexist peacefully and not hurt each other, okay? Mary's eyes widened in shock. She couldn't believe I'd say that, stuttering. You're lying. Saying that, she ran off to her room, slamming the door shut. But I wasn't lying. Their love doesn't matter to me. My real parents are still waiting in the countryside. At 1 a.m. Violin sounds came from the next room. I opened my eyes silently. She believed me. 3 days later, the news of the City A violin competition reached Mary. Seeing Ethan's name, she looked at me with complicated emotions. Sue, if you ever try to take Dad and Mom, I'll never let you go. I smiled indifferently. That day will never come. The Williams enrolled me in a prestigious school where most students were from prominent families. They placed me in sophomore year, the same class as Mary, supposedly to keep an eye on each other. But I couldn't keep up. Education in the countryside lagged, leaving me struggling. Jane scheduled nonstop tutoring, and finally, before the semester started, I caught up. Mary's competition had just ended, and she'd won the championship. Ethan praised her and expressed a desire to take her under his wing. Jack and Jane brought me to watch her competition, beaming as they mingled and basked in the compliments around them. I dropped my gaze. On the surface, Mary seemed all glamorous and shiny. But in reality, she was just someone trapped inside a shell. All the love she got came with a price. On stage, Mary held her violin, her eyes red with emotion. Ethan kept his arm around her shoulders, clearly impressed. Suddenly, she looked my way in the audience. I was startled, then smiled and clapped for her. Mary blinked and looked away. On the way home, I got a text. It was from Mary. Sue, let's fairly compete for Mom and Dad's love from now on, okay? Let's work hard for it. I was taken aback. Surprised, I looked at her. She avoided my gaze, clutching her trophy tightly. I couldn't figure out what Mary was thinking, so I decided not to bother. As long as Mary didn't stir up trouble, her thoughts didn't matter. My return created quite a stir. The daughter of the Wilkins family was found, and everyone wanted to see how Mary and I would get along. In the past, I was mocked for my accent and poor grades, always compared with Mary. This time, I had no accent and my grades were average. I was pretty ordinary. Within a week, nobody noticed me anymore. But the troubles from my past life still caught up to me. Facing a red-haired girl, I clenched my fists. Hey, you're Mary's sister? Go tell Mary that if she messes with Harvey's guy again, watch out for her face. Harvey, notorious in our circle, had a rich dad who spoiled her, so she got away with anything. But Harvey had a thing for Jill, who, unfortunately, liked Mary. A brainless person like Harvey couldn't outplay Mary, so back then, she took out her anger on me. Mary disliked me, and my parents didn't care, so Harvey freely insulted me. Sometimes I felt like she was just crazy. I frowned, saying, if you like Jill, go after him. If you hate Mary, go pick on her. Why involve me? Then I turned to leave. Harvey straightened up and pulled me back. Who do you think you are to talk to me like that? Heard you came from the sticks. I'm cutting you some slack here. I stared at her coldly, let go. Back in the day, it was Harvey who bullied me. Now that I get a second chance, I don't want trouble, but I'm not scared of it anymore. The next moment, Harvey slapped my face. Glaring, she stuck her neck out defiantly like a villain. I won't let go. What are you gonna do about it? Let her go. Mary's voice came from behind. I tucked my pepper spray back in my sleeve. Why was she here? She ran over, her face full of impatience. What a hassle. But then she stood in front of me, like a protector. I looked at her in different profile, thoughtful. Seeing her, Harvey got a bit deflated, not as cocky as before. She snorted and was about to leave when I stopped her. Wait. In the next second, I rushed forward, knocked Harvey down, and sat on her, raising my fist. Memories of past humiliation flooded back. Anger clenched in my fist as I punched down hard. Harvey screamed, covering her face, unable to fight back. Just because I didn't seek revenge doesn't mean I forgot the hate. This sudden change caught everyone by surprise. By the time they reacted, I had beaten Harvey bloody. The frustration left my chest, and I stood up. Mary walked over, unhappy. Couldn't you just walk away? How are you going to explain this to Mom and Dad? Walk away. Last time I backed down so many times, and Harvey's bullying only got worse. This time, I looked at Mary, picked up a stone from the ground, and smashed it against my forehead. She screamed, staring at me in shock. What are you doing? Blood ran down my forehead, and I fixed my eyes on her. I don't know why you helped me just now, but since you did, can you help me one more time? I wanted to end this for good. With the Wilkins family's power, crush Harvey completely, and buy peace for my future. Mary nodded. Okay. She was smart, quickly catching on to what I wanted. She pulled out her phone and called Jill. I called the police. If we're gonna do this, let's make it big. Jill arrived soon. But I didn't expect Ethan to come along. Ethan, my husband from my past life. My blood froze. Even under the sun, I felt cold. The two of them walked over to Mary, concerned. After Mary signaled she was okay, Ethan looked at me. I quickly averted my gaze. But he had already noticed me and approached. Hey, you've got blood on your forehead. Wipe it off. I stayed silent. Impatient, Ethan frowned, placing a handkerchief in my hand. What? Cat got your tongue? When I didn't move, the spoiled young master stubbornly stood there with his hands in his pockets, carelessly saying, What, you want me to do it for you? Then he pressed the handkerchief against my wound. Pain snapped me back to my senses. I swallowed the pounding in my chest and tightened my fist, thanking him. Thank you. He pulled back his hand with a cocky grin. I really thought you were mute. From the corner of my eye, I saw Jack. His glasses reflected a flash of light, and I clearly saw the scheming in his eyes. My heart sank. Sure enough, he didn't even check on Mary, but walked straight to me, smiling and politely greeting Ethan. Ethan, you're here too? Sorry for the trouble Mary caused you. Thanks for saving her. For the cops took Harvey and the others away. This time Jack and Jane got involved. Harvey's in trouble. They patched me up quickly, and after I gave my statement, Jack and Jane wanted to take Jill and Ethan out to eat. Ethan waved them off and left with his arm around Jill. Watching them go, Jack smirked and said, Sue, looks like Ethan's really into you. I got a shiver down my spine. Living this life again, I can't ignore what he's hinting at. I nodded silently, But Ethan's into Mary. Jane caught on and grabbed my hand warmly. He saved you. Remember to treat him to a meal. You're in the same class, so you really should thank him properly. I'll send you $10,000 to spend. You can get Ethan a gift. This was a first. Jane never offered me money before. Since coming back to the Williams, they covered all my expenses, and Jane either forgot or chose not to give me anything directly. Seems like she did remember her duty. Jane gently ran her hand over my wound. Sue, maybe get some bangs, cover that scar. A girl's face is her fortune. Mary watched us closely. Once in the car, she whispered to me, Ethan's into me. Don't compete with me. Jack and Jane raised her to always work angles. Mary saw no fault in it. But I've got a different mindset. I glanced at her, I won't. Ethan's family is way more prestigious than the Williams. Getting close to them could mean a powerful ally for the Williams. In my past life, Mary ended up with Jill. They already had an in with the Jill family. The Williams just needed to play it cool. But they still plotted to marry me off to Ethan. Didn't care how I felt. The Williams just saw me as a tool. This time, I'm not playing along. I ignored Jack and Jane's comments and focused on eating, sleeping, and studying. At first, Mary was on guard, but when she saw I wasn't really interested, she relaxed. My grades kept climbing, and by midterms, I was the top student in the whole school. My success was new fodder for Jack and Jane. In social circles, they'd praise Mary and toss in a word about me too. Mary's anger showed in her reddened eyes, so, you're just scoring high to get their approval. I looked at her, every word calm and clear. I'm studying hard for myself, not for their love. I felt sorry for Mary. If you grow up in a loving family, why wouldn't you share love? My presence makes Mary uneasy, which tells me Jack and Jane aren't all that loving toward her. Business people care about one thing, profit. Yet I wasn't expecting the trouble to follow. Jack suggested I tutor Ethan. I shook my head and firmly refused, no way. Ethan's a nightmare. In my past life, the Williams drugged both of us and I woke up to find us in the same bed. Feeling guilty, Ethan was pressured by my parents into marrying me. But that didn't make him love me. He's a wild spirit, and once wronged, he retaliated harshly. We had no wedding, just signed the papers. On our wedding day, Ethan choked me. Thought you could trap me? Sue, I'll make you pay. After that, he'd party wildly, and whenever he got drunk, he'd call me just to humiliate and manipulate me. On good days, he'd just hurl insults. On bad days, he'd make me crawl like a dog. I died in a car crash going to pick him up from a bar. The car caught fire and I burned alive. That feeling of despair? I'll never forget it. This time around, I'll steer clear of Ethan. Jack wasn't expecting my refusal. His smile froze, eyes sharp like daggers. Sue, what did you say? I stared right back at him. I said no, I won't tutor Ethan. Suddenly he stood and slapped me hard. I was knocked to the floor, stars in my eyes. Jack loomed over me, ice cold. Remember, everything you have is from the Williams. You'll do as I say. Take her to the family shrine to kneel. She can't get up until she agrees. We don't need a slacker in this family. My fists clenched tight. Hatred flared in my chest. I knelt for 3 days, without a bite to eat or a sip of water. How could I forget? Jack and Jane are ruthless. One night, the door creaked open. I thought it might be Jane, coming to coax me. But it wasn't. It was Mary. Sneaking in, she tossed me some milk and bread. Eat quick, and I'll take the trash when you're done. After that, she crawled under the table hiding some bread before coming back out. I didn't get what she wanted, just ate quietly. Then it hit me. I was still too weak. Standing up to Jack won't work. Mary frowned at me. Why not just give in a bit? My voice hoarse, if I give in now, what about next time? Do I keep yielding my whole life? That stumped Mary. She's never stood her ground, so she couldn't get how I felt. After eating, I left the shrine, went to Jack, and promised to tutor Ethan seriously, and even try to make him like me. Jack was pleased, patting my head with a smile. When Mary found out, she was livid and threw the bread at me. Wow, you actually tried to snatch Ethan from me after I brought you bread so you wouldn't starve? I ignored her and went straight to my room. After 3 days kneeling in the ancestral hall, I missed 3 days of classes and needed to catch up quickly. The next day, Ethan and I were desk mates. When he saw me, he frowned in annoyance. I saved you, and this is how you repay me? I pursed my lips, shook my head, and coaxed. I'm helping you with your studies because you saved me. Don't worry, you can do whatever you like, and I'll cover for you. Ethan looked at me skeptically, muttering, at least you know what's up. This was my way of dealing with things, act like I was going along with Ethan. I just needed to keep Jack and Jane confused for a few years. Once I was strong enough, with enough ability, I could break free. Life finally settled down. All through junior year, I did Ethan's homework, fetched water for him, kept watch while he napped, and covered for him when he skipped class. We started interacting more. Occasionally, Ethan would ask me to hang out. I'd show the chat logs to Jack and Jane to keep them oblivious. Then I'd refuse Ethan's invitations and head to the library for the whole day, returning home at night. Mary was busy all the time. Though she kept her hostility toward me, she didn't try to set me up again. She had competitions to join, banquets to attend, all while balancing her studies and her fling with Jill. She was doing her best to meet Jack and Jane's expectations. On the first day of senior year, Ethan stared at me for a long time, propping up his head. I put down my pen and looked at him puzzled. What's up? He frowned annoyingly and reminded me, you said you'd give me a gift on the first day back. It hit me suddenly. A few days before finals, he had rattled on about whether I'd miss him over the summer and suggested going to Bali together. I turned him down for each request, and he had a tantrum, throwing his cup and storming off. Somehow, Jack heard about this and forced me to apologize. Ethan didn't respond to me for a long time. Jack was busy, but he left me with strict orders to appease Ethan, and I agreed compliantly. That night, Ethan sent me a location, Twilight Bar. I trembled, struggling to breathe. In a past life, I died on the way to a bar. After a while, Ethan messaged again. Knew you wouldn't come out. How about this? I'll forgive you if you buy me this. It was an I love you talking plushie. I agreed to send it to his house, but he insisted I give it to him in person. You didn't forget, did you? Ethan shouted, eyes blazing. I coughed, of course not. I'll give it to you tomorrow. The next day, I handed him the gift. He smiled wide until he pressed it and froze, incredulous. I grinned at him. I changed the audio. What do you think? Isn't it motivating you to study? I had swapped I love you for study hard. Ethan wasn't doing well in school. At this rate, he wouldn't get into any college in the country. I thought I was helping him. Surprisingly, Ethan seemed a little upset, eyes turning red, before leaving school in big strides. After he left, I took out my exam papers and focused on them. Having once been married to him in another life, I had a sense of what Ethan was thinking. But I didn't want any more involvement with him. I had to play dumb. If Jack found out Ethan liked me, he'd have no problem packaging me off to Ethan. Later, one of Ethan's buddies came over to chat. Curiously, he asked, "Where's Ethan? Skipping again?" I shook my head, I don't know. Then he tapped the table conspiratorially. Hey, why are you always doing our Ethan's homework? You like him or something? I shook my head again. Nope, just because he helped me before. I don't go for guys with bad grades. We won't end up at the same college. Footsteps paused behind the door before quickly leaving. Ethan's buddy looked up, scratching his head. TCH, you smart students are picky. I kept working on my papers. Ethan was absent for the next couple of months, reappearing for midterms. His scores had jumped by 200 points. I was surprised. After exams, Ethan came back to study, poking my arm with a pen. Hey, what college you aiming for? Without raising my head, I replied, Stanford. Ethan didn't reply, just quietly pulled out his test papers and studied. Later, Ethan really asked me to tutor him. When he had questions, he came to me, and as I explained, I reinforced my own understanding. Jack and Jane were pleased with how we were getting along. In the second semester of senior year, Ethan ranked in the top 10. He was genuinely sharp. I had nothing left to teach him. Ethan's family hired a tutor for both of us. Days flew by, and before I knew it, finals came and went. Leaving the exam room, I breathed a sigh of relief. Finally done. The day before the results came out, I got a call from Stanford University admissions. In that moment, all my hard work paid off, and I cried tears of joy. To my surprise, Ethan got a call too. He excitedly phoned me. Sue, which one are you going for, Harvard or Stanford? I could go with you. I didn't answer him. We'd been entangled throughout high school for 2 years, and I didn't want it to continue. When results were announced, my name topped the list. I never imagined I'd be the top scorer. Jack and Jane got to enjoy basking in the glory. Mary, however, was full of dissatisfaction. So what if you're smart? You're just like a block of wood. After spending 2 years together, she knows I won't compete for Mom and Dad's love anymore. At the graduation party, Jane brought Mary to find Jill, and Jack took me to see Ethan. Ethan was dressed up in a suit, with his hair perfectly styled. Jack casually greeted Ethan's dad, saying, "Does Ethan know which school he's aiming for? Maybe our Sue can apply there too." They could be classmates and look out for each other. Ethan's dad was lukewarm in response, saying, "It's up to what Ethan wants." But Ethan pulled me aside and asked, "You mentioned wanting to apply to Stanford. Are you still thinking about it?" I nodded, yeah. He grinned, "Then I'll apply with you." I didn't reply. If he wants to apply, so be it. Stanford's huge. Once I'm busy with school, he won't find me anyway. When the results came out, both Ethan and I got into Stanford. Sue went to Berkeley to be with Jill. With her grades and violin skills, a music college would have been a breeze for her. I chose biotechnology as my major, just like in my past life. Soon after the semester started, I joined a competition. Every day, I was buried in the lab with my teachers and classmates, crunching numbers. Ethan often asked me out, and after turning him down so many times, he cornered me angrily. "Sue, you don't return my messages or take my calls, and I never know where you are. Can't you see how I feel about you?" I took off my gloves and asked quietly, "Like me?" Ethan was stunned, frowning at me. I sighed, ready to lay everything out. "But I don't like you. I remember you used to like Mary. I'm not sure why you're interested in me now." Hearing I didn't like him, Ethan was visibly hurt, yelling, "Sue, how can you not like me?" In high school, You did my homework, brought me water, cared about my studies. Sean put me up to it, I interrupted, and Ethan looked at me in disbelief. Sean wanted me to win your heart. He wanted to use me to get close to your family, Ethan, but I refused. Ethan's pupils shrank, and his face showed panic. He reached out and held me, looking pained. Did you never, like me? I never imagined Ethan would be hurt because of me someday. In my past life, it was like being trapped at home or getting calls from him to go over and get humiliated. I'd never seen the sad, love-seeking side of Ethan before. Never, I said coldly. Ethan let go of my hand and laughed at himself. His eyes obsessively fixed on me. Sue, you're heartless. Knowing Ethan, he was probably going to hate me again. For some reason, I opened up about the hardships I faced with the William family. That day you saved me. Jack saw us together and insisted I tutor you. But I didn't want to, so he slapped me and locked me up in the ancestral hall for 3 days and nights, without a drop of water. Coming from the mountains, he felt nothing for me, just seeing me as a tool for marriage alliances. Afterward, I pretended to comply. I was nice to you at school, but I always kept my distance. Though I used you, I had no choice. I'm sorry, Ethan. If you really like me, let me live the life I want. The conversation with Ethan ended badly. I didn't know when Jack would find out about this. So I threw myself into my experiments, striving to improve myself. Finally, our team won first place in the competition. A professor noticed my efforts during the contest and took me under his wing. When I got the news, I broke down in tears. I'd studied so hard, and at this moment, I finally succeeded. I'm finally on the brink of leaving the William family. The professor once worked as a leader at the National Biological Institute. With his contacts, I'm not far from the institute myself. In my past life, I also chose biotechnology as my major. But shortly after getting involved, Jack dragged me back to Mary. This time, my goal was clear: get into the National Biological Institute, become a top talent, and gain the nation's protection. That way, even the William family can't touch me. After becoming the professor's student, I changed my phone number and only stayed in touch with Mom and Dad. Since returning to the William family, I've never broken contact with them. Knowing they were waiting for me kept me motivated, diving headfirst into the lab. Over 2 years, I worked tirelessly with my team on anti-cancer technology, running numerous clinical trials. Finally, we developed a highly effective anti-cancer drug. As soon as it hit the market, it caused a global sensation. I turned down media interviews. When the professor asked for my wish, I said without hesitation, "Sir, my mom and dad are still in the mountains. I want to bring them over." The professor gave me a leave of absence. He didn't want to let me go since the anti-cancer drug had just launched. As the project lead, I was in the spotlight, and he feared for my safety. So he requested a few people from the institute to protect me. 4 bodyguards were in the car with me, watching the scenery fly by. I thought back to the past. Ethan's family had a distant cousin in national defense technology. She came home for the holidays with 2 guards behind her, supposedly sent by the nation to protect her. Back then, I stood behind Ethan, full of envy. If I had national protection, maybe I wouldn't have suffered so much, and maybe Mom and Dad wouldn't have died. In my past life, my dad passed away shortly after I left home. Mom stayed alone, and one day, missing me, she set out for the city, but never made it out of the mountains. 7 on the way, there was a car accident, and it was the villagers who helped bury the bodies. Hearing about all of this was heartbreaking, and I cried my eyes out. I was desperate to find my mom. But then Jack told me he had it all taken care of and that I should focus on winning Ethan's favor. I was furious. Furious at Jack's control, furious at my own helplessness. As I stood at the doorstep of my house again, I felt nervous about coming home. Could this freshly renovated house be mine? My busy mom saw my figure and slowed her steps to the living room, looking back 3 times. Once she was sure it was me, the bowl in her hands crashed to the ground. "Sue." It was a cry filled with years of longing. Tears welled up in my eyes. "Mom, I'm back." My mom held me tight, crying uncontrollably. Between sobs, she said, "I thought you'd never return. I thought I'd never see you again in this lifetime." After settling my parents, I visited the Williams house. Since joining the experimental group, I hadn't been in touch with them. But some things needed closure. Seeing me back, Jack raised his hand, just like before. This time, his hand didn't smack my face. The bodyguards behind me grabbed him, 4 of them standing around menacingly. Jack didn't dare act out, shook off their grip, and pointed at me, cursing, "Ungrateful girl." I smirked sarcastically. "If that's the case, let's just say I'm ungrateful." I told him I was there to cut ties. With that, I handed over $500,000 and a declaration of severance. Jack's eyes widened. Enraged, he grabbed the papers, tore them to shreds, and threw them on the floor. I watched him go berserk with indifference. Nowadays, I'm in the spotlight and he can't bear to let me go. The Williams had been leeching off me since my team developed a new drug, using me for marketing. But I never expected Jack to be so shameless. Filled with anger, he snarled, "Now that you've made a name for yourself, once you marry Ethan, their family will look up to us. Stop messing with that tech stuff and come home to marry Ethan. It'll benefit the Williams." I laughed. Jack was as arrogant as ever. How could he expect a top national talent to give up their passion to become some trophy wife? The bodyguards tensed up, ready to protect me, forming a circle around me. "Jack, I don't want anything to do with you or Ethan's family. I'm here today to officially cut ties with you so I can leave here cleanly. Since you're not willing, we have nothing more to say." With that, I turned to leave. Jack threw a cup at my back, screaming, "Ungrateful girl. I should have never taken you back from the mountains." As I reached the door, I met Mary's eyes. She's now engaged to Jill, and after they graduate college, they'll marry. But from what I remember, the Williams wouldn't last another year. Remembering how Mary helped me in high school, I shared some advice. "Jack's raising you to climb social ladders, but true strength is when you're strong on your own." With that, I left. Mary stared wide-eyed at me. Who knows if she understood? As I walked out, I saw Ethan standing under the shade of a tree. He looked at me from afar. I nodded slightly his way and got into the car. My mentor called, urging me to return. As the car started, everything from the past vanished in the breeze. I leaned back in my seat, closing my eyes. I've spent a month trying to sort out my past life since I was reborn. At first, I was consumed by hate and resentment. It wasn't until I faced the 3 elegant people and our disheveled selves that I realized what I wanted. Suddenly, the hatred disappeared. Perhaps my past life was doomed, or maybe my path was just too narrow. After being reborn, letting go of past grudges and exiting that circle, I saw a world of possibilities outside. As for Jack and Jane, they brought me to life once, and I died once. Reborn, I've used their resources guilt-free. After all, they're still marketing the Williams daughter as a biotech big shot. Mary never harmed me in this life, so there's no need for me to wrong her either. My marriage to Ethan was a trap set by Jack in the past. Neither of us wanted it, and he took out his anger on me. Reborn, I've used him to fool Jack and Jane. After rejecting his proposal, Ethan, surprisingly, kept the secret from me and played along for a while with Jack and Jane. Consider our grievances settled. Returning home, my parents waited by the dinner table. Seeing me, Mom's eyes lit up and she smiled warmly. "Sue, I made your favorite braised pork." 7 years flew by, and I became a leader in my field, leading a team to develop various beneficial medicines. Once, a major incident of prolonged coughing and fever swept the nation, and our team worked tirelessly to create a cure. Later, as the virus mutated, we continued to adapt and improve the treatment. "Professor Sue, someone's here to see you," a student called out to me. I assumed it was Mom bringing meals again, but was surprised to see Mary instead. Dressed in business attire, she greeted me with a confident smile. "Professor Sue, can we talk?" In the cafe, she got straight to the point. Mary had started a pharmaceutical company and wanted the first batch of our newly developed drug. I raised an eyebrow and decided to involve her in the venture. The office is short on cash lately, so why not take advantage of an opportunity? After we finished talking business, Mary started chatting about random stuff. That's when I found out William's family went bankrupt. No surprise there. Ethan went after them and sped things up for their downfall that part 1 didn't see coming. Apparently, William's family going under turned Jack's attitude towards Mary upside down. Jack ended up begging at Jill's doorstep, but Jill wouldn't open the door no matter what. Their engagement was called off. Jane couldn't handle the blow and jumped off a building. Jack got attacked on the street by workers who hadn't been paid. He broke his leg, cracked his head, and now he's bedridden for life. Mary, on the other hand, used her fame to land violin gigs and make some money. After she saved up enough, she started a pharmaceutical company and actually made it work. Impressive. I sipped my coffee, feeling a wave of reflection. Wow, things really did change. Checking the time, I stood up. All right, I should head home for dinner. I barely took a couple of steps when Mary suddenly called out, "Sue." "Thank you." I just waved it off. Why thank me? Wasn't it her hard work that paid off? The end.